should have been. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gospel of Comics. It's us again. Toy Story 3 should have been uh the cash grab, right? In the structure of a Disney film, you and I know that it's like first you have your theatrical release, then you have your direct to DVD sequel, and then you have a profusion of sequels you've never heard of. We need proof of this. Look at Land Before Time. Jesus Christ, that thing had like 8 sequels and a TV show, right? Toy Story 3 should have been bad. Toy Story 3 went remarkably hard. Like, do you remember the climax of Toy Story 3?
I was about the toys almost getting mulched.
Yeah, they're all on a trash conveyor about to be thrown literally into the molten fire, and since they can't climb up against gravity, they literally all hold hands, close their eyes, and are together in what they suspect to be their final moments. An instant before the conveyor stops. Like, holy shit. And you know, the bad guy not only got his, but ended up, if you recall, strapped to the front of an automobile as a fly screen for a couple of rednecks, right? Which is a kid-friendly form of, and we sent him to the gulag. Because you and I know that you can't really show the bad guy getting ganked in a kids movie anymore. We're not like that, right? So yeah, Toy Story 4 comes out and I'm like, okay, they're just gonna do annual sequels now. So I didn't even try to go see it. I just figured, it'll be good. It'll be acceptable. And now we have
just barely.
And now we have Toy Story 5. And you say Toy Story 5 is quite possibly the worst thing you've seen in your life.
Well, not that bad, but it's not good because it's about iPads, and this would have been interesting 10 years ago. It's about little girls making friends, which is fine, but they take the dramatic heart of the Buzz and Woody relationship, which at the end of Toy Story 4, Buzz basically made Woody basically made Buzz the new head of the toy leaders. You know, the guy who ran the team. But then he gave it up to Jesse for some reason for this movie, and none of it worked. But I want to talk about the second movie that's made me think in 2026, and it's an Uwe Boll movie.
I mean, that's the first thing that you gotta admit to yourself is a horrible statement on the world we live in.
So, first things first, I want to affirm that at no point in time during this movie did Uwe Boll stop being a schlock merchant.
Right. This is 100% a schlock film.
Yes. Now, it's like Waters, but Waters had like a tongue-in-cheek, kitschy sort of thing about making trash. This is trash without tongue-in-cheek. It's just trash for trash's sake. But this is somehow his best movie, and we're going to get into why it's his best movie in a little bit. I believe, arguably, this is Armie Hammer's best performance as an actor. And the thing that I'm still chewing on, still trying to get the texture of, is I don't know if it's his best performance of an actor since he's been freed of having to make himself commercially viable with what he does. He's free to just let go and just give into the part. Or if it's just how much damage he's had for the whole scandal where he was accused of being a weird cannibal sex freak when none of those things were true by someone who was divorcing him, and how that destroyed his life. He went through a whole period of deep depression when he thought like, oh, why aren't any of my friends being helpful to me? And he said some random ass old guy in Jamaica said to him, your house is on fire. What kind of friend would you be if you want your friends to go into your house that's on fire? Your friends would be on fire if they did that. And then he was like, well, shit, I never thought of that. So I don't know if it's that baggage. So let me start
Well,
with the interesting aspects of Uwe Boll's filmmaking that inadvertently made this a brilliant movie. So,
okay.
as a schlock merchant, um, paying for locations is it's not really a thing you do. You film in public streets, in parking lots, in places where, so long as you have a permit, no one's really going to stop you and demand money for filming. And he did this in Croatia, which means he filmed in a lot of places that look vaguely Habsburgian, vaguely Napoleonic, which makes it look like all sorts of places in Central and Western Europe. Or he filmed in the downtown sections, which were built in the 90s and 2000s, which again make it look like any place in Central and Western Europe.
Well, let's put on our red letter media hats for a minute. Call
Mhm.
out to our boys who don't talk to us. Because as far as I know, unlike Midnight's Edge, we don't know anybody from Red Letter Media. We wish we did.
Mhm.
But they talk about a number of things when they're talking about schlock merchants from the 80s and early 90s,
Yes.
right? And one of those is the various ways that you get production value. And sometimes, if you're a particularly ballsy schlock merchant, you literally film illegally wherever the fuck you can,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
So, so while I will 100% believe that Uwe Boll found loopholes to get filming rights in Eastern Bloc and areas of Germany that were desperate for
Oh
American
no. Oh
investment
no.
money.
No, this was all Croatia. This was all Croatia.
Well, I heard he also did filming in Germany.
I'd
Because
have to look
Germany,
it up.
because Germany wanted American investment money, and so they made,
Oh no, that's what he did.
uh,
That's what he did with his previous films.
yeah. But either way, I also 100% believe that they probably did a bunch of non-OSHA supported illicit cost cutting, corner cutting, filming schemes that they could get away with.
So
Um,
that filming technique, basically, since the story is about very edgy contemporary European politics, but since everything looks kind of nebulous and you're not really
right.
sure, although there are a couple of clues that indicate where the movie's actually set, it feels like it could be anywhere in Europe.
And relevant to that, I wanted to mention really quick. Everybody knows Uwe Boll
Hmm.
for three films:
Hmm.
House of the Dead,
Hmm.
Alone in the Dark, and Blood Rain. Three
Hmm.
back-to-back shitty video game tie-in movies, of which Alone in the Dark is said to be the worst. Although having seen Blood Rain, it was pretty fucking bad. Um,
Although Postal was made as a
I
so
was
bad it's good movie.
I was gonna say he also apparently has done a profusion of In the Name of the King Dungeon Siege movies,
Yes.
and he did Postal, and he did a
We actually reviewed Postal 2 on this
all right.
channel.
He did Far Cry, he did Rampage, uh, he has done more Blood Rain movies that I didn't know about. The one that I know that I have not seen, but I keep it in the back of my mind because it has one of my favorite actors in it. He worked with Dominic Purcell on a Wall Street uh,
Yes.
Occupy era film called Assault on Wall Street.
Yes.
Um, and there have been other films. The man has worked consistently for more than 20 years in schlock, and some of this schlock is actually so bad it's good.
Mhm.
If you're a schlock guy, if you like bad movies, he's a name you know.
Yes. And he has a whole lot of B and C tier European actors who are primarily
Right.
from the Balkans and Eastern Europe, and their English accent is inexplicably strange, which
And
further gives you the sense that it's somewhere in Europe, but you don't know where.
actually, let me ask you a really serious, stupid question because I know you do want to get somewhere with this, but I want to
Yes.
ask this. So, Roger Corman, famous filmmaker,
Mhm.
master of Hollywood, responsible for many careers starting. Always worked with a sort of the same set of people.
Mhm.
Rob Zombie wants to do kind of the same thing, but
Mhm.
Rob Zombie's joke is just about played out because when they give him a real movie, he doesn't make a movie; he makes a Rob Zombie joint,
Yeah.
right? Is Uwe Boll the modern Roger Corman?
No, he is something else.
is
But we're
is is he a modern Ed Wood?
no, because he's not good, but he understands what good should be like.
Right, he understands how to pretend to be good better than Ed Wood did,
Yes.
but
So let me.
but he doesn't have like the heart or the likability of Roger Corman. Because the other thing about Uwe Boll worth mentioning in this miniature biography, Uwe Boll is a lolcow. He
He
also
is.
famously has told people, it's like, if you don't like my shit and you want to get into it with me, tell me where and we can have a fist fight.
He's actually he actually boxed a movie critic
He did.
and beat the shit out of it.
And yeah, not a celebrity boxing. Oh, we're gonna tap each other a couple of times. No, like an actual. He got in the ring and beat the shit out of someone.
But
So,
so the first thing is I want to comment on that.
yeah,
It that adds to the fact that this is not a story that happened in England, although a lot of people who are in there sound like they have an English accent. It's not a story that
the,
happened in Germany,
well,
even though it was inspired by a story that happened in Germany.
let's call it what it is. It's the European accent. There's a lot of
Right.
talk about the number of English accents in like movies with ancient Romans and the like, but the fact of the matter
Yeah.
is, like, no, there's a generic European accent that's not quite German, not quite English, not quite French that we
Yeah.
expect of Euro people in American films.
Yes. Um, so that's the first component of his schlock nature
Mhm.
that makes this movie a viable vehicle. The second thing is casting Arnie Hammer. So normally we get like Charles Bronson's character in Death Wish, which has been compared to death for this thing, or Frank Castle's Punisher. Both
Right,
of those men are haunted by the fact that they murder people who do crimes because society is so broken down. They just do this.
right.
They just have to do this, and they're on a quest for vengeance or justice. The main character Sanders, he's just like weary and hollowed out, and we're gonna get into his core character philosophy, but it's not that he's doing this as a revenge quest. In fact, when he kills on behalf of a specific victim, he goes to the victim and asks them if they feel that they received justice, and if they haven't, would they like to receive justice? And it's every indication if they said no, he would let the scumbags live. It's fascinating. It's really a fascinating take on the vigilante, which I'm still kind of trying to wrestle with it.
So, uh, again, very briefly, uh, I mentioned this in the pre-show, but I'm going to walk through it. So the approved or remembered versions of the vigilante in popular media, right,
Mhm.
are the Batman. Batman's a paternalist. It
Yes,
is a quest against evil for the good of the weak.
yes,
Okay. As someone who actively likes to remind people that the no-kill rule was a corporate mandate, the idea is that the reason the Batman doesn't kill people is because he is a defender, not a
right,
Punisher, right?
right.
Because then the Punisher literally kills people, but he kills people who deserve it, right? He
And
kills scumbags,
Frank knows he's going to hell, even though
right?
Marvel Comics actually subverted that, and Frank ends up going to Valhalla, which is wild.
Which was stupid, was the dumbest thing I ever read.
Um,
But here's the thing: uh, Frank Castle and Kersey from Death Wish basically the term death wish is accurate. It is a
mhm,
suicidal ideation. I'm going
mhm.
to kill shitheads until the shitheads kill me.
Yep,
Right?
I'm going to fill that emptiness inside myself with
Right.
murder.
what you're describing to me, as someone who hasn't seen the movie yet, because I did not have the opportunity to go to a location or a friend's house where it could be seen, uh, is a Marvel villain that everyone wants to forget exists and is actually one of the coolest villains they ever made.
You mean Scourge?
No, the Sin Eater.
Oh, the Sin Eater.
The Sin Eater was made in the mid 70s at the same time as Dirty Harry as a film, and
Yeah,
was another response to the Son of Sam,
yeah,
right? And it was literally just a dude in a funny costume with a shotgun who was roaming around New York killing people. And this was a very prominent Spider-Man era
villain.
story
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because Spider-Man had to stop a guy who was murdering people. The act of murder was unthinkable to Spider-Man because he was targeting anyone he thought was evil regardless of context,
Yes.
right? Whereas Punisher has a specific context. Punisher doesn't shoot jaywalkers. They're breaking the rules, but it's fucking jaywalking. He has bigger fish to fry,
Yes.
right? But if you're a fucking mobster, oh, you're on his list, right?
Yes.
Um, and they actually expanded the Sin Eater's role in Spider lore in a very good run of a Venom story with Eddie Brock. It's revealed that Eddie Brock's uh, uh, defamement had less to do with bullshit he did while working for the Bugle against Spider-Man, right? And more to do with he had played the very timely deep throat angle with a guy claiming to be the Sin Eater who wasn't.
Yeah. I
So
remember
he
that.
he spread a bunch of fucking lies and bullshit for his own aggrandizement and was basically profiting off of people's murders, right? The Sin Eater is the unpleasant underbelly of superheroic comic stories in that the heroes that we call heroes are literally exceptional. They are exceptions, right?
Hmm.
But in the same way that we like to think anyone could be Spider-Man, the right person in the right situation could be a hero. Anyone could. The right person in the wrong situation could be the Sin Eater.
Well, you're going to really like what I'm going to be saying about this movie.
Cool. Let's go.
So, our protagonist Sanders had a catchphrase that he says during his manifesto.
Okay.
I am doing this for you until you learn to do this for yourself. So, I'm going to tell you about a particular sequence with a group of hooligans. Our protagonist is on public transit, riding it around. And there's some hooligan children who don't want to pay their fare. Now, in the real world, what happens is a bus driver just shrugs it off and drives. So our protagonist stands up as a fine, upstanding person in the community. I said fine, upstanding person for a specific reason, which we'll be getting to later. He pays their fare. He sits down and says, now, you kids are young and you don't understand this, but do you know what happens if more than 10% of society fucks around and doesn't pay for things? Well, it goes up on everybody by 10%. So you should consider, doing your part to be conscientious members of society. One of the kids goes to pickpocket him. He immediately points a gun at the kid, tells him, son, this is going to be the greatest and luckiest day of your life. And he withdraws from the kid. Now, if this were just one scene by itself, it would be establishing the character as, oh, this is just a guy who fucking gives zero shits and will just be a vigilante in open public. And, no one's going to notice, no one's going to do anything about it. So these hooligan children, and they're a multi ethnic hooligan children, by the way, which, and because of the weird accent things, the black kid is clearly a migrant, but you don't know if the European members of the hooligan gang are migrants or not. So they find a kid who looks vaguely Jewish, and they're beating him up, and they're stealing his cell phone. So Arnie Hammer, as like an omniscient angel of vengeance, shows up in the park, stun guns the kids, tells the kid to get his cell phone, call his parents, and tell them to press charges, and then he proceeds to beat the shit out of these teenagers. And again, that's the last time you see the teenagers, but this shows how his sense of distributing justice as a vigilante works. There's another scene at a bar where he's just drinking. And there's these two piece of shit Eurotrash businessmen who put roofies in girls' drinks. And he goes up and says, "Hey, listen, somebody fucking with your girls in the bathroom. You should go do something about it." He swaps out the roofie drinks. So when the guys and girls are back at the table together, the guys roofie themselves. And he goes to the girls and says, "Hey, listen, ladies, those guys were going to roofie you. I switched their drinks. I don't care where you go, but you shouldn't stay here with them." And the ladies leave. And the third interesting character piece of vigilantism is the police come to kill this guy. The police come with multiple units of a SWAT team. And they go into a mansion he has built and fortified. And he says to the police, "Listen, I know you're doing your jobs, but if you try to shoot me, I'll just kill you all." And he does, because the cops do their jobs. So this is how they show you the character's use of his violence to instigate his political will in society. He interviews one victim who is kind of ambivalent about what she wants for her justice. And then he talks to another victim who gives him permission to kill the rape gang who raped her, which is the ending of this movie, which we'll get to in a minute. So he's very methodical, he's very structured, he's very organized.
Interesting aside, because something you mentioned. The character has to ask someone else for permission to act on their behalf,
Yes.
right? While it is not a vigilante film, there's another film that has that as an important plot point, and I think it's an important element for when you discuss vigilantism.
Yes.
Which is the idea that what divides an actual vigilante from an asshole who wants to murder people.
Yes.
Because we've had those guys. There was the shooter in New York on the subway who killed a bunch of black kids.
David Berkowitz.
No, not David Berkowitz. No, this was in the 80s in New York.
David Berkowitz was in the 80s, I thought.
No, Berkowitz is in the 70s. That's Son of Sam.
I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
Bernie Getz.
Yeah, he killed a bunch of black kids who were probably up to no good. We'll never really know. They're dead now. But he then went on the lam. You know, he hid his activities, whereas an actual vigilante, as we've seen through many a Punisher book, accepts arrest. The cops are doing their job, and he's got to get, if they're arresting him, they've got to arrest him. Now, you presented this character we're talking about, this character in the Uwe Boll film. He's more of a, you can arrest me if you can catch me kind of guy, because he's seeing his justice through to the end. But the rules are the same. If the cops kill him, the cops win. Their justice was more correct, right?
Yes.
But the thing about permission, the thing about I want to do justice, but I can't do justice in your life because you are the primary motivator. That actually appears in one of my favorite movies, 8mm.
Yes.
If you recall, towards the latter half of the film, Nick Cage has James Gandolfini tied up in a abandoned building where a murder went down. And he wants to kill him. He wants to cross the line into vigilantism. And he can't, because as a hired detective, he actually has no onus on any of this. He feels it's wrong on a personal level, but he's still a law-abiding person who, despite how cynical he started as, actually believes in things like truth and justice and the law, and maybe we shouldn't do these kinds of things.
Yes.
Right? So he calls up the victim's mother in dark of night when she is half asleep, probably drunk, took a bunch of pills, doesn't know what the fuck's going on. and says, "Look, I know what happened. Here's what they did." And in he's feeling very emotional, but he basically says, "Will you let me punish them for you?" And this grieving mother says yes, because she wants the bad guys to die for what they did to her daughter.
Mhm.
And from there on, Nicolas Cage goes after them, goes after the other bad guys, goes after the guy who actually did it. And of course, by the end, not only is he emotionally and spiritually damaged, right? Because unlike some of these other characters we're talking about, he does try to go back to the civilian life after the fact,
Yeah.
right? But he never gets a meaningfully good answer. There is no devil behind us telling us to do wrong. There's
Yeah.
no supernatural context. He's he literally asks this guy, "Why would you do this awful, awful thing you did?" And it's like, "Cause I wanna." What were you expecting? The character you're describing, it sounds like he has more or less come to terms with the idea that people do what they want because they want to do it.
Oh no. Oh no. We we're going we're
Oh,
we're going
we're getting there. We're going
we're
deep.
we're going down the next level. So
Okay.
there's another scene, an absolutely unhinged schlock scene. So
Okay.
so our main character, after going around murdering people and doing vigilante things, goes to a whorehouse, as you do, and it's filmed in that schlock exploitation film way where you're not really sure if the actress doing a simulated blowjob is simulating the blowjob or not. And at a deep psychological level, you don't want to be sure because there's a possibility that the answer is yes.
I mean,
And
this is a component of what you're talking about. How we're not sure if this is Uwe Boll doing an Uwe Boll or if this is Uwe Boll actually doing art.
well, no,
Because if
he is doing
well,
art. We're gonna get to
well,
the art.
well,
We're gonna get to the
what
art.
I mean by that is that uh, if you're just doing a schlocky bad movie, right? You go, oh, that's a simulated sex scene. That's gross, right?
Oh no, no,
If
no,
he's
Joe,
well, no, no,
Joe.
let me finish. Let me finish. If he's doing porn, you go, oh, that's porn. But if his goal was to simulate grime and make you feel uncomfortable because you don't know what you're looking at, right? That's art.
So, Joe, this is perfect because I'm about to blow your mind.
Oh
So he
man.
so he pauses mid-sex with his prostitute, and he notices there's black fucking mold all over her room. He stops.
Right.
He goes through and says, like, what, when guys shower off before you let them leave, do you open up the window? No, well, you got all this mold here. You got to take care of it. The prostitute is genuinely confused. Why the fuck do you care? I said, like in the building. You think your pimps own it? Tell your manager tomorrow he needs to get this shit cleaned up or they'll have a problem with me. And then he resumes the sex act.
Oh.
So that is what we were talking about with
That-
that is art. Not only is there the grime of the film, there's the literal grime on the set, which is then discussed in
well,
the text, and you get a understanding of his paternalism through his ownership of property.
well, it's extra funny because then you also have the element of black comedy, which is what makes Punisher Max excellent.
Yes.
Okay, so if I believe you're not a huge Punisher fan, but as
Punisher
someone
Max
who
has a lot of good things in it.
as someone who's read a lot of Punisher, when you go back and you read the old '60s Punisher, it's a little ridiculous.
Yes.
And the worst modern Punisher books kind of evoke that. When Punisher fires a gun that fires swords, that's retarded. That's
Yes.
very classic Punisher, back when they couldn't have him killing people, right? When you read Punisher from the late '70s and '80s, about the same time as Frank Miller was also doing Daredevil, right? They can't kill people on screen. They can't kill people all the time. Sometimes they can drop somebody off of a building and make it very clear that they fell to their death, but you never see a body. right? Lots of bloodless carnage, right? But this is where the Punisher starts getting more philosophical about what's going on. They get a
Yeah.
lot more explicit about what's happening. These are serious action movie vibes, right? And the closest they get to actual jokes is that there's a low rent wise guy. He's not dangerous, but he moves hot stereos and shit, named Mickey, that the Punisher pumps for information, right?
Hmm.
Uh so when they said, okay, we're going to redo the old Warhorse with Garth Ennis, and we're going to call it Punisher Max under the brand new adults only imprint. So it's going to be the Punisher without a safety net, right? The basic logic comes in. It's like, okay, what what does a Punisher story look like? And it's like, well, it's going to be some of the most horrible shit you've ever seen, and it often was, right? And they're like, okay, how do we cut this? How do we make this less bad, right? And the answer is black comedy. Comedy that is only funny in context. We talked about Punisher Last Kill recently, and
Yes.
I talked about how bullshit the gun mall turned mob boss lady in a wheelchair as a tangible threat was in that film, because
Yes. We
she's not.
both we both thought that was kind of lame.
Well, in Punisher Max, they actually have that. A surviving gun mall becomes a mob boss, and she's basically a nugget. She's got no arms, she's got no legs, she's wearing a wig. She looks disturbingly like Frank Castle because the artist can only do like three faces, right? But at one point, it's her and Castle, and she's fallen out of her wheelchair, and she's basically crawling on the ground on her stumps, threatening to chew his kneecaps off, Black Knight style, right?
Mhm.
And Frank just punts her like a fucking football with the caption "Go back to hell" as he kicks her back into a burning building to die.
So,
Right,
so Joe, this wasn't played for black comedy.
but it is objectively, when you look at it, fucking hilarious.
It is. It is. But it's
Right?
played 100% straight.
No,
So
that's part of the reason why it's funny, because the
yes.
ridiculousness is, you stop, you look at the room, you're like, this room's a fucking mess. I own this building. And she's like, but dudes just come here to fuck. It's like, I don't care. It's my building. And then he goes back to having sex with the prostitute. That's fucking hilarious.
Absolutely. So there's a scene where Sanders talks to his business manager. And his business manager is saying, you're technically not legally here in this country. And he's like, I'm on a tourist visa. What are they going to do? And his business manager's like, you could just get a citizenship here. They would just fucking give it to you. And they talk about how long it takes to get through all the EU barriers for the building and how the EU wants to put a bunch of migrants in his building. And he says, what did I tell you? No empty apartments. Fill up every apartment. And he applies his 10% rule to his business. So it's unacceptable for him to have more than 10% of his tenants not paying their rent. And then the business manager goes, well, it takes 8 months to evict people. He says, let me have my people work on that. He is a man who has his own moral code, which is very much like anarcho-capitalist Hans Hermann Hoppe, whose uh, ideology is referred to as voluntarism. So Hoppe's political beliefs focuses on these idea of covenant communities, which, to put it in a nutshell, if you want to be a raging libertarian, you go live in the libertarian town. If you want to be a raging communist, you live in the communist town. And if you live in communist town, you accept the rules, which include the fact that you could just be extrajudicially murdered. And that's just the way the rules work. But if you're an antisocial figure that's disturbing and breaking down society, you are physically removed. And Hoppe, as a bit of a trollish Austrian intellectual, is unclear of what physically removed means, which he will frequently end with, so to speak, to leave the implication up to the listener and the reader's imagination. So this character uh, epitomizes the radical anarcho-capitalist voluntarist perspective on power and on legitimacy and authenticity of power. It's victim-centered, it's victim-focused, it's propertarian-focused, where people who own the property should have the rights respected. There's consent and contract agreements. It's deeply fascinating that Uwe Boll just touched this relatively obscure libertarian philosophy, which isn't really in the zeitgeist in Europe. I mean, it's anarchist. So he just channeled anarchism into this vigilante movie.
Well, it's interesting to me because listening to you describe it, it sounds like someone, this philosopher Hoppe, took a more universal philosophical underpinning that I do adhere to quite strongly, and just made it individualistic, and then
Yeah.
said the consequences don't matter, because what you're describing is the social contract, and the
Yes.
social contract is supposed to be between both the man and God through the
Yes.
biblical illusion, the covenant,
Yes.
and man and the state via constitutions and laws.
Yes.
Right? And the reason that's pertinent is because the Hobbesian contract is universal. We are all human. We have a shared human experience, humanism, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, we are all subject to the contract. The variations on the contract may be different, but there's a universal recognition of self and self's rights. We all have a right to exist.
Yes.
Right? And what you've just described is somebody saying we all have the right to choose our society, and once chosen, anyone that doesn't conform to that society, well, they're just not welcome.
Yes.
So to say.
Exactly. And
But
the interesting thing is the violence he does towards corrupt judicial officials. He kills them in a very specific way. He injects them with heroin, a very large dose of heroin, and he pours vodka all over them, and then he slits their wrists open. And just leaves them abandoned in the car out in the middle of the woods.
see, this is where I disagree with some people about another modern thing. I'm sure you've seen various comments on the internet. Something bad will happen. A George Floydening or what have you.
Yeah,
the stabbing of that young woman.
The young boy who got stabbed and the kid who's going to jail, and a bunch of people want to be violent about it.
A lot of people will say, well, we should execute them, which is, capital punishment's a thing. We accept that some people got to get got, right? But then they expand it by saying, and we need to bring back public executions. Put that shit on TV. Take it to the town square. Murder them brutally. Draw and quarter them. Let's bring back the guillotine. And I always sound like some fucking panty waste, because I'm like, guys, do you know how that went in the French Revolution? Do you not recall that we actually have done the analyses and found out that public executions do not, in fact, defer crime, and in fact encourage more violent crime, because if they're already going to kill you, you got nothing to lose.
There's some interesting statistics you can argue on both sides of that one, but
the penultimate argument that I come away with is you're encouraging sadism. You're encouraging state-based sadism. You're saying our society accepts sadism. Do I like that we give murderers 7+ years of appeals, and then we very antiseptically dab their arm with an alcohol wipe so they don't get infected before we inject them with drugs that will kill them by having a nice nap? No. But I don't actually believe that we should be televising decapitation either. We're not the Saudis. We're better than that.
But isn't it interesting that he gives the corrupt officials a death that in the older, more Roman and classical perspective. It would be
It
you commit suicide because you have failed in your duty so manifestly that that's the only way to retain your honor.
Well, it is evocative of that because of another interesting Roman perception, something that anyone found out if they watched De Palma's Untouchables. Do you recall what the actual worst high crime in Rome was? The one that could get you killed no matter your civilization?
I forgot the one from The Untouchables, so refresh my memory.
Bearing false witness.
Oh yeah,
Bribery was bad, even in Rome, getting caught with bribery. But if you actively lied in court before your peers, before your state, before the city, before the plebs, and before your gods about what you saw in court, right? They would summarily execute you. They would take you from this place of honor immediately to the block and deal with you.
yeah. So let me get to the to the high schlock,
Oh boy.
the climax of the schlock.
Higher schlock than a bunch of dead cops.
So there's a rape gang.
Because I just want to mention because a movie that is not schlocky that people have been talking about again, Leon the Professional,
Yes.
is literally Leon taking on an entire SWAT team
Yeah.
as they come in like a clown car into his apartment from every
Yes.
angle.
Yeah.
It has its elements of high humorous schlock.
So he goes into the home of one of the young men in the rape gang. He does a gun holding, and they all say, "Well, it's not our fault. We didn't know that that was wrong, and like we came from a war torn country." And he's not in the mood to have any of that. And the daughter in the family said, "Well, the girl deserved it because of the way they dressed." And he asks the young lad to call his friends over so he can have a talk with them. And then his friends come and he fucking shoots them in the head, and then shoots the whole family and waits for the rest of the rape gang boys to come in and all get fucking shot. And then the movie ends with the fake news reporter going over all the statistics of migrant crime in Europe and then saying this is dedicated to all of the people who have been raped by migrant gangs in Europe who have been unable to find justice through the criminal court system. That is the apex of schlock in this movie.
I mean, yes. It's also, in my opinion, and I know this is not a popular opinion, but I'm going to stand by it. It is also good marketing.
Oh yeah, no, 100%, 100%. This is like when I said that I said online, this is a punk rock movie. This is absolutely the way a old school punk rock band would market themselves.
Well, here's the thing. A movie I watched recently. I may have mentioned it on the show in passing. Uh, my friend Ty and I went and we rewatched the Boondock Saints.
Yes.
And the Boondock Saints are again excellent, lovely, glorious, schlocky vigilante films.
Uh-huh.
But first film, which is in my opinion the better of the two, even though I know
It is.
that critics said the second is the better because it's more refined in its filmic structure. Bullshit.
Eh.
We have two ends of the film. Okay, so very beginning of the film that most people remember, even if they don't put it. You have the McManus brothers there in the church in Boston, hearing the pastor speak, right, or hearing the priest speak, rather, the father, and he gives the parable of the death of Kenny Genovese in the early 50s as a lead-in to say that what's worse than the actual evils that men do is the apathy of good people doing nothing because it wasn't my problem,
Yes.
right? And then we jump to the opposite end of the film, closing credits. People might not remember this. The closing credits are some actors, obviously, and some randos on the street being approached, or if not randos on the street, like cast and crew and other background people being randomly approached guerrilla filming style and asked, do you like what the Boondock Saints do? Do you think we should be taking out shitbags? And people are like, either no, I think it's horrible, or they should start taking out the brown people too, or if I had half a chance, I'd start taking out shitbags. It's speaking even then, and that's what 20 years ago now.
Something like that.
Although Boondock Saints was it was in a vault in development hell for a while after being made. But basically, for a very long time, people have been speaking to a growing discontent with their own feelings of powerlessness in the face
Yes.
of criminal exploitation, right? When we look at things like the migrant crisis in Europe, well, even though we must actively state on the record here on the Gospel of Comics, we said it. Some of those migrants are actually coming for a better life and do not mean anyone harm. There are those that are absolutely coming to do fucking harm, who may in fact be politicized terrorists, and who may have radical beliefs, or just think they can turn a Western country into the shithole they just left. And yeah, those people need to be contended fiercely.
There's actually a sequence in the film where the protagonist gives his manifesto to his antagonist, which is a Javert-like figure who works for Interpol, who very much upholds the same view on standards, traditions, morals, and everything. But this guy's a fucking vigilante. You can't tolerate that shit. If you tolerate that shit, society will go in the shitter. And he respects his antagonist, and he says the people didn't vote for all of these migrants. They didn't vote for their society to be changed this way. And you need to tell the government that not to fuck with me because I'm doing what the people need. And he's like, I don't know if I can. And Sanders, our protagonist, said, "You're don't sell yourself short." And then he says, "Get me the prime minister. If you can't get me the prime minister, get me everybody in the media. I have to tell them what's happened."
So I'm gonna segue into another subject. I'm sure there's more you want to say about this movie, and we will. But I want to mention something that I think I put in the chat.
Okay. Take a look.
It's pertinent here. I'm gonna scroll back. Right, here it is. I'm gonna put this up so we can share this little window of from the Twitter zone, from the tweet space. Screen. If you can pull that up.
1 second. Boop.
So this is from an unknown Krakatoa era X-Men comic, or Krakoa rather. And Scott is talking to Phoenix on the psychic plane and says, "Look how they treat their own kind, the ones who don't fit in, the ones who wear the wrong clothes or love the wrong mate." Emphasis on mate, not partner. Those people whose only crime is that they make their oppressors uncomfortable. I want to be there for all of them, for mutants and for all mankind. And then Phoenix responds, "I do too, but love is enough to win those hearts. Love is enough. We can't just pretend we're the same. It's got us nowhere our entire lives. You're a great captain of Krakoa. It suits you. You're good at it because you think like them." Well, thank you. It was not a compliment. I want to counter this thing because the person who posted this said, "Don't trust anyone who thinks he's being a radical here." If you look at Scott's language, he has accepted the language of the oppressor. And I don't mean the sense of, oh, he's been oppressed and accepted their language. I'm saying he believes in the idea there's an oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And why that is very important as you were describing this thing, right? We don't like the word assimilation.
Yes.
because assimilation is seen as the word of colonialization, of conquest. We conquered you and you must now assimilate, right? And we all agree that's shitty, right? But there is another angle to this that is important. When we're talking about migrants, people from a shitty country where they have been betrayed by their government and their culture,
Hmm.
moving somewhere else for opportunity, okay? To open your doors in whatever fashion is an expression of largesse. It is your country, your people saying, we are powerful enough, we are strong enough, and we are wise enough to accept you into ourselves and make all of us better, right? It is a giant middle finger to the country that could not hold these people and could not give them the good life they desperately want, right? There is an unwritten rule, an implication of that. If you accept our largesse on a transactional level, you have said you will assimilate, right? Now, in America, we have freedom of religion. So basically, we say, yeah, you can come to America, you can join us, you can bring your Sunni bullshit, but we're a country of laws. We follow our laws, which means if somebody says, but I want Sharia law, fuck you. Sharia
Exactly.
law is not an accepted component of our culture. But by that same token, if some guy, if some guy named Ahmed, okay, came to this country and settled in and said, "Hello, my name is Ahmed. I'm an American now," and he started wearing the big buckle and the cowboy hat and said, "I love this country because it got me out of my shithole."
Hmm.
He's one of us. We love him. That's not an invader. That's a brother in arms that has joined the cause. This is the important thing that's missing, I think, in the dialogue. Maybe not in this film, but in general, in the broader political sense, right? The dangerous migrants are the people that are coming here, still wearing the same clothes, still speaking the same language, and who are trying to force us to accept their ideologies that they brought with them. That ostensibly, by being migrants, they should be saying we don't actually want, right?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but the righties have it at least partially correct. If they're coming here and saying, I'm not going to change and you have to accept me, that person is an invader.
Well, they're also saying you have to accept me, and you also have to give me money.
Right. A
But
million, a million Somalis show up with their hand out, but they don't realize that we expect them to put work back in to replace the money they borrow.
now I do want to say one last thing about this film, which is the
Okay.
opening. Opening. They're in like a little convenience store kind of place. Mom and a kid. Mom agrees to buy the kid chocolate. Doesn't want to buy him trashy American candy. They walk out, walking home. All of a sudden, there's a black or brown person, probably Somali of some sort, comes up, slashes the mom's throat. Huge CGI digital blood splatter. And he goes away in the background, and it almost sounds like he's saying Allahu Akbar.
Uh,
That's how the movie opens. And then they have a fake news that is actually neutral on the Citizen Vigilante character. And what I think is fascinating is a smarter film director would have actually inserted media that is contradictory, saying, "Well, no, we can't do this. This guy, this is outrageous what he's doing." There wasn't really a counter narrative being presented to him. But I mean, again, like if you're thinking Death Wish, there wasn't really a counter message for Ray. He just killed people, and sometimes the cops were not okay with it, and other times the cops were saying like, "Yeah, we need you to kill some creeps."
yeah.
So again, this movie is art because number one, I was able to name drop an Austrian economist philosopher in this movie. I was able to talk about the whole philosophy and ethics of this killing. We were able to talk about actual real politics in a way that makes people feel uncomfortable. As uncomfortable as seeing the black mold in the prostitute's room
We're,
because it's grimy. It's real, it's visceral, and it makes people feel uncomfortable because the answers aren't clean. Because the clean answer is, oh, we're just gonna inject the judge with a bunch of heroin and fucking murder him in the woods. No, you can't do that. That's not how society works.
Well, with that in mind, because we mentioned a couple other people in this, we had Rob Zombie and whatnot. Let us also append this by saying when we're talking about schlock merchants, and we're talking about Uwe Boll. Uwe Boll is the best schlock merchant,
Absolutely.
and the reason that's important is because holy shit, Glenn Danzig's making another movie.
Yeah.
And
But but
Glenn Danzig is not a good schlock merchant. Holy fuck.
and I honestly feel like Arnie Hammer's performance in this movie is so interesting. He may do the thing Nicolas Cage did when he was rebuilding his career. He may be working a lot of low budget indie movies until he just gets ahead of steam, and then he gets back into Hollywood. So, yeah, I hit the whole thing where I have this weird fetish, and my ex-wife blew me up over it. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I mean, we joke a lot, quote, nature is healing.
Mhm.
But when you actually look at it, a lot of the people that were hit with Me Too or quote unquote canceled are quietly being uncanceled because the best cure for cancellation is success.
Mhm. And this movie is going to do well by Uwe Boll standards. It's going to do well.
It's never going to get an award. It's not going to get
Oh no,
targeted by any awards.
oh no,
And it's not bad enough for a Razzie by the sound of it. It's not going to get worse
no,
anything.
no. But it's offensive. It's in your face, and it makes you think, and that makes it art. So
Well,
Schlock Merchant accidentally made art by casting a haunted actor to play a haunted character that is distinct from the pantheon of other vigilantes we've seen in the film.
Well, interestingly enough, I don't know if it was in a chat, but I do think it's worth mentioning here. Somebody was going on about blaxploitation movies, and I
Mhm,
love blaxploitation movies,
mhm,
but I think it's worth pointing out. No, yeah, it was a conversation about this film. Uh, People were talking about how this movie is exploitation, because it's politically motivated and what have you.
mhm.
And my argument was, so what? Because you can't like blaxploitation and dislike this movie for being exploitative in a timely sense. Because if he was a black guy killing white fuckers in the community, it'd still be a good movie theoretically, right? Ex- Grimy grindhouse exploitation film is an important social genre for a lot of things, and we need to stop pretending it's not.
Yeah, yeah. And I watched another interesting movie mainly because of something that I know that you and oh, also there was a m- there was a record scratch moment about George Floyd.
Okay.
The line was, and this is an obscure one: "If you grab a banana at a grocery store and you don't pay," that was apparently one of the things George Floyd did before he got arrested. Well, I
Uh,
mean, cardiac arrested would be a more apropos thing. But I want to talk about a movie that touches on something that you and I like to talk about, which is everybody talks about the mafia in New York and Chicago, sometimes Philadelphia, but nobody really talks outside of Miami about what the mob is like in the rest of the South. And the rest of the South has an interesting mob story. And this played out in a movie called Fast Charlie. So Fast
mhm.
Charlie is a movie about a mob fixer played by Pierce Brosnan, who is he. We make a joke about actors playing a stock character, But when you get to the level of an actor where you have a stock character, it's because your character is so endearing that we just accept it. So this is like Remington Steele slash James Bond as an old mobster, and he and a young guy are hired to kill somebody because we're doing a favor for the New Orleans boys. And one of the New Orleans boys is making moves, and he's going to try to muscle in on the territory in Biloxi. And the kid who's with Pierce Brosnan's character fucks up the job. He's supposed to stab the guy because his name is Blade. Stabs guys. Stabbing guys is important if you're wanting to identify to make sure you have the right corpse. What the kid did instead was he put an explosive in a donut that was set up to explode when the guy bit into the donut, turned his head into jelly all over the back of the wall. So Pierce Brosnan and the kid go to find the guy's ex-wife, who mentions an identifying tattoo on his ass. The kid then steals the body because he's wanting to give it to the New Orleans guy who set this whole chain of events up. The kid doesn't know how to do his business, accidentally shoots himself, and they set things on fire. But the fixer
I'm,
fixes things.
I'm not being disparaging because Pierce Brosnan, but this just sounds like a more black comedy version of The Mechanic with Jason Statham.
Well, no, hold up.
Okay.
We're just getting your setup here.
Okay.
So the actual core plot is this young up and comer who's in a mafia in New Orleans that's run more like the mafia in Chicago, where you don't have to be Italian, you just have to make money. He wants to take over Biloxi. The boss of Biloxi is an older guy played by James Caan, which is a nice touchstone because it's from The Godfather. And James Caan is an old paternalistic mobster, and he's getting old. He's got Alzheimer's. And so the young Turk is moving in on the old sick lion. And the young Turk kills almost all of the Biloxi crew, except for two people. Technically, three people. Because the old guy with the Alzheimer's survives, which is a twist at the end of the movie. But Pierce Brosnan kills the guy who betrayed the family because the mob boss in New Orleans, out of generosity and, it's the right thing to do, told him one of the guys betrayed the family. So he gets killed. And then it's a classic revenge story where they're looking for a MacGuffin. The guy who got killed in the opening setup had that was going to blackmail and ruin the other guy. That eventually gets found, gets brought out, which enables the New Orleans mob boss to authorize his killing. And then Pierce Brosnan settled the scores. He's taking care of the old man who took care of him. And he's free to not be part of organized crime. And he's able to go off to his dream and live a retired man's life in Italy. This is a good action movie. It doesn't ask a lot out of you. Because again, it's by the numbers beats. It's paint by numbers. It's flows through, and I recommend it. It's on Netflix, and it's good if you want to pull it up. You'll have a good time. This wasn't a deep movie like fucking Uwe Boll made. Jesus, how fucking weird is that? That Uwe Boll made a seriously thought provoking movie.
It is really weird. You know what is also weird? You were talking about how you suspect Army Hammer will rebuild his career, kind of like how Nicolas Cage did by doing lots of low budget but high yield films.
Mm-hmm.
Describing this Pierce Brosnan film that you have, do you know what I was vaguely reminded of? Do you remember Seeking Justice?
Yes.
Also a vigilante film, but oddly enough about the question of whether or not vigilantism is correct, and who's in it? Nicolas Cage and Guy Pearce
Yes.
in New
Yes.
Orleans.
Yeah.
which
Absolutely.
which for those of us who love meta context, you could almost theorize are the two films happen in the same universe.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, I heard you saw something terrible. Well, actually, you finally saw He-Man, so you now have context to interrogate my commentary on He-Man. And then you did violence to yourself by watching Critical Role.
Yes, but I think there's actually more interesting. We should talk about something comics related.
You want to talk about
Uh,
Elsewhere?
no, I want to talk about the fact that Heather Antos just won't shut the fuck up.
Well, actually, that's how we're talking about Elsewhere.
Oh, then yes, we are in fact talking about Elsewin. So, let me go back to the start of this. So, for our friends who might not know, there's a Marvel comics creator from the '80s. He's contemporary with what's his name, the big super writer for X-Men. Um, regardless,
Claremont.
yeah, he's contemporary with Claremont. Famously, I think his art was in Deadly Attractions when Wolverine got his adamantium stolen.
Oh, no.
That's not John Byrne.
No. Let me unpack John Byrne. You remember
Okay.
the wisecracking, fourth wall breaking She-Hulk, who was the first
Yes.
She-Hulk to break the fourth wall? That was John
Yes.
Byrne.
Oh, okay,
She-Hulk,
sweet.
She-Hulk feuded against John Byrne during that because Byrne kept throwing her cheesecake, and she
Right.
complained about it. John Byrne also did a lot of the iconic black and white Marvel Comics Conan work.
Yeah.
John Byrne did a lot of good
He,
shit.
yeah, he did. The important thing is he's coming forward and he's making a indie X-Men series called Elsewin.
Well, here's the thing. He did it as a fan fiction on his
Right.
personal website, and
Right.
he got permission from Marvel to publish it.
Right. But he's in the news because he recently had an interview and was basically asked about what's your opinion about Alan Moore's opinion about comics, because Alan Moore famously hates his own comic work. And
Yes.
John Byrne was like, fuck it, I'll take the money, I don't give a shit. What he actually said is, I'm not Alan Moore, I'll take the money. But
yes,
still, John Byrne is a quote unquote a reclusive, polarizing creator. Basically, because he did his work in the industry, he got the fuck out, and he does not spend his time complaining about the fact that they probably stiffed him or that he didn't get paid enough or that he's not getting movie options, because he understands that he has contributed to the totality of the lore of comics in a meaningful way, and he doesn't have to do more than that.
and also,
Right.
He allegedly got muscled out of comics because he did not agree with the consensus of the creative teams on LGBTQ issues.
Right.
And so
So,
yeah.
so Heather Antos, and mind you, I don't view John Delaroz as a source of repute, but he's digging into this because it's where his grift is. Heather Antos is out saying that John Byrne is a transphobe and people should uh, boycott his work because it's offensive for him to release a book during Pride Month. So
Now,
apparently in the market, you're only allowed to release gay things during Gay Month. We're told.
Well, here's the fun part about that. Do you know what Heather Antos is? One of her number one jobs is at IDW.
Do tell.
She manages all their Star Trek portfolios.
Mm.
Do you know who is a major part of the catalog of Star Trek portfolio stuff in trade paperbacks that they sell?
I mean, John Byrne, because that would be hilarious to
John
me.
Byrne. So she's telling people not to buy her own comic books.
Right. Well, the thing is, she's getting flack for this. She's getting flack for being told to boycott a legend at the age of 75 because how dare he make a book? And so apparently she has recently come out swinging to quote say, "You can be mad at me for for what I said all you want. I was policing no one. Everyone is allowed to spend their money how they want. If you want to spend it supporting a man who has used his platform to be vocally transphobic amongst other things, that's your right, and you have to live with that." So
I mean,
A, you
I mean,
didn't specifically say when, where, or how, and B, you did appeal to people not to buy his shit. You did, in fact, tell them you'll be judged if you do. So get fucked.
and also, see, Heather Antos, you ruined 2 attempts to reboot Valiant Comics.
Yeah.
And you've ruined IDW a couple of different times.
But I find this hilarious because John Byrne is winning doing the thing that I have consistently said is what you do.
Yeah.
Right? People call you out and try to cancel you. What do? Say nothing. Fuck it. It's an accusation. They can't support it. I don't raise to that bait.
Yep,
And it's like
you just do your work.
Just do your work. Because Elsewine's going to make $1 billion whether Heather Antos likes it or not.
Oh no. The first print run already sold out.
Right, but if it doesn't if it does well enough, they'll do another one. There'll be a second run.
No, Rune. The first print run hasn't even gone to stores yet. It
Right.
hasn't even been printed yet.
Right.
And it's already sold out.
Right, and I'm saying they'll do another one. That brings us to the other thing. I think I did put that one in the chat as well. Did you hear about Mark Waid and Rob?
Yeah, Rob Liefeld calling out Mark Waid. But I mean, Mark Waid being a moron is it's not new.
It's not new, but do you know specifically what he said that Rob was calling out?
Rob called him out for the fact he said just don't read old things.
Yeah,
which is stupid.
Yeah, he said if you're reading if you're calling for people to read books from 5, 10, or 20 years ago, you're a dinosaur and you're destined to be a dinosaur. And Rob Liefeld, who can't draw feet, right? So let's.
I mean, he can draw feet now. He's improved.
I'm just saying, let's be clear that we do not play favorites here. I will mock Rob Liefeld as readily as I'll mock anyone else. Mm-hmm. Rob Liefeld called him out. I was like, no, those old books were good. That's why they're still read today. Your modern shit is shit, and people don't like it because they don't want to read it. If you're wondering why your sales have gone down, it's not because the internet is competing. It's not because of the dangers of television. It's because your books suck.
Yep. And that is true. But let's get into Critical Role.
Okay, I just
in He-Man. I want to hear about Critical Role in the He-Man.
Well, I wanted to mention these things because first of all, we are the gospel of comics. Second of all, the idea that people are slap fighting and when very old things are succeeding and new things are not because new things are bad actually does kind of apply to He-Man and and Critical Role, and more accurately D&D in that case, and other things. I asked you a question before I watched He-Man. I sent you a private message.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you, is it me, or does it look like Prince Adam in all the advertising looks like he's holding in a fart?
I believe I said yes.
Yeah. Well, now that I've seen the film, I'm not very impressed.
Nor should you be.
I find it incredibly bland. But my biggest outrage is, as I described to you in passing, a refusal to commit. What drove me to watch the film, because after you watch a thing and after we talk about it, I generally will either watch a thing and to catch up, but I will often go, well, we talked about it. I guess I don't need to. Is some rando was claiming that the sword work in a given scene, right, that fight scene, was the best thing we'd ever had since Conan facing the serpent cult in the Mountain of Power when they kidnapped the princess from Felsadum, right? And I was like, that's a big claim. You got to back that shit up. So I watched the fight scene. Okay. Skeletor lures Prince Adam and his allies to Snake Mountain on the premise that if He-Man gives himself over and the sort of power that he'll be reunited with King Randor and his wife, right? And it's a trap. It's a fucking scam. We all knew it was. But the fact of the matter is that swordsman's battle, it's not good. It's barely WWE, and WWE is quite a lot better. It is closer to the throne room football game scene in Flash Gordon, and at least in Flash Gordon, it was funny.
Yeah. And it was funny for a very interesting reason. The actor who played Flash Gordon was the only one who didn't know he was in a schlock movie.
Right.
Which enhanced the whole thing.
Right. When I say that the He-Man movie doesn't want to commit, it flirts with excellent storytelling beats multiple times. It gets real close to something, but then it never quite embraces being what it is. I'm not saying He-Man is schlocky, right?
Mhm.
But He-Man as a story survives on its sincerity. And when people say, yeah, but you watched He-Man as a kid and it was trash, then it's like, yeah, but we didn't think it was trash as kids, right? You've got to think about this as a child would think about this when it's your Saturday morning or it's your weekday afternoon, right? You sit down in front of the TV, you turn it on, you hear that theme song, the voice of this powerful voice says, "He-Man and the Masters of the Universe," right? And then it's hard cuts to He-Man standing there, hands on hips, broad chin, bold as the world, unflaggable, and is like, "Hi, I'm Prince Adam. Powerful secrets were given to me." It's like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then you watch it, and it's fun 15 minutes when you strip out commercials, right? But in that moment, you think it's the awesomest thing you've ever seen. Right? Because he's got the muscles, he's got the sword, he's gonna beat up the bad guys. The bad guys look great, right? You watch this He-Man film, it's very self-aware. Kids aren't self-aware. We weren't self-aware then. Don't nudge us and wink wink. That's not what we want. And then it's trying to say very deep things about like toxic masculinity. You have themes. But the thing is that the themes of He-Man are not about that. The themes of He-Man are about heroism, right? So then when they have the moment to truly land that heroic beat, they don't, right? And this is actually encapsulated in the worst scene that everybody's so busy talking about how much they love that they missed the important context. Okay? So when we talk about Avengers, the Avengers fought Loki, and there's that really cool scene where Loki tries to call out the Hulk grabs him and beats him into the floor, right? And we all had a
Mhm.
chuckle then about that. That's still funny, right? But Loki could take it. Loki wasn't dead because Loki's an Asgardian,
Mhm.
right? Well, they did that scene in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which was pointed out to me quite horrifically. The acronym is D&D HAT, and I wanted to die inside when I knew that. Now I've shared
Yeah.
that with you. You can share my pain. Um, they grab the evil wizard, and she's beaten into the ground joyously by an owlbear, and we're supposed to all cheer about that. But she's not defeated; she's just rendered a joke. Whereas Loki was continuing to be dangerous. He just got flailed around a bit. Well, here we have in He-Man. He-Man tries to appeal to Skeletor's better nature, and Skeletor thinks about it for a minute and is like, "No, because I'm the bad guy." And it's like he chose to be a villain. He's not going to have his heart turned by a few mealy-mouthed words by this effete prince with oiled abs, right? And so He-Man's like, well, then I've got to beat the shit out of you. And I would have been down had it been, all right, these two, mano a mano, here we go, the real deal, fisticuffs at dawn, right?
Mhm.
Except it wasn't. It was a Mortal Kombat fatality scene. We watched He-Man beat up Skeletor with lots of slow motion and CGI, and Skeletor just gets wrecked. And then we hard cut to another set of Skeletor getting beat up and getting wrecked, and then we hard jump to He-Man giving his penultimate punch in the face, and we can literally see Skeletor's jaw dislocating because, oh yeah, and the whole time the actor who was mocapped for this has an expression somewhere between I'm about to ejaculate and I'm about to lose my bowel control, and it's not good. It never looks good,
You mean the
right?
mocap for Skeletor was
Yeah.
yeah, that's Jared Leto. He looks like that a lot.
No, I'm saying the guy playing He-Man looked like that. Jared
Oh,
Leto
oh,
looked like Jared Leto. He's just not wearing makeup.
yeah.
but but you compare that, if we're gonna use this comparison, I don't think the comparison is fair. I think it's a terrible comparison. If you compare that to how serious Flash Gordon versus Ming was on the final palace conquest scene, right? Or Dolph Lundgren as He-Man fighting Frank Langella when he's Cosmic Skeletor, or Conan fighting the Sons of Doom, right? And at no time are any of the antagonists presented as anything other than actual, serious, we're gonna fuck you up, and the good guy might lose, right? It all feels awesome to watch. This didn't feel awesome to watch. This felt perfunctory. This was paint by numbers by numbers.
It was a chore.
It was a chore. And it wasn't, and the thing is, I don't even think it would be good for kids. I don't actually think this is a movie that kids would get excited to see. That's the thing. This is like, well, it's for the new audience. Who's the new audience? The kids that parents of the old He-Man show are going to bring their kids to. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think kids would be wowed enough by Robo Man to be taken in. I don't think they appreciate Man at Arms well enough for that story. And let's be clear, Idris Elba had the best character arc in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
From King's right hand to drunken loser to redeemed hero. He actually got an arc. It's extra funny because that if you see interviews with Idris Elba talking about Thor, he says doing the Thor movies was the worst experience in filmmaking he had ever done. Working for Disney was the worst thing he'd ever done. And he was glad when Heimdall died because he didn't have to do that role anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. This does lead into Critical Role because that is ultimately the problem with Critical Role's, or rather, as I say, Matt Mercer's bowel movement. For people that are interested, the new season of Critical Role's Vox Machina is out, and before I get too deep in, I just want to say, whoever the fuck named their adventuring party Vox Machina is a twat. And I use the term twat specifically because we're gonna riff on the Hound in Game of Thrones. Twats name their swords.
I
And
mean,
people
also naming adventuring parties is it's kind of dumb.
Well, here's the thing. I play Fortnite with Moody and David, and we accidentally gave ourselves a group name. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We are unintentionally competent. That is our group name.
That is a terrible band name.
Yes, it's a terrible band name, but it is an honest name. In the same way that bomber pilots get silly names, right? Like if you're a bomber pilot and for whatever reason you just couldn't hold it while you were heading back into base to make a landing after taking a flight, and you foul yourself in the cockpit, they'll give you your call sign, and your call sign will be depends. Right? Because that is the way of soldiers, right? More often than not, if you get a nickname, you didn't pick it. It's not the cool nickname you wanted. You don't get to be Titan Storm. You get the nickname you're given by your peers, and you either learn to live with it or they'll find a worse one for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
we're playing a coterie in Vampire the Masquerade. At best, we're the Bowling Green boys. We're
Yeah,
them boys from Bowling Green. We because we didn't go out of our way to name ourselves. We're not a band. We're not a musical act. We're we're not uh, we're not the Bowling Green Experience with Byron, right?
we're a core piece of the Anarch Domain's government. We're the upper middle management of the Anarch Domain,
Right, right.
and soon we're about to be promoted up to executive vice president level management.
Right, exactly. But the thing is just before I get into the specifics about this season, uh, I'm just saying I have seen clips where people are like, "Man, wouldn't it be cool if we could make an animated feature like Vox Machina?" Right? And they use the name in setting, and people are unambiguous about it. It's like, no, I want to be very very clear. Okay,
Mhm.
um, that is a horrible name for a fucking campaign. And that is a horrible name for a group. Vox Machina is the most pretentious fucking name I've ever goddamn heard.
But also, let's use our vampire group for a moment. If our vampire group could somehow be an animated series, we had a great moment in our last game where we're all like, "Wait a minute, Tuchel's actually real and not something that Takwachi made up."
Yeah.
Now
That,
that's now that's some good comedy.
well, let's give context to that because that's actually very important. So, one of Vox Machina's go-to things is we have swears and we have toilet humor,
Mhm.
right? So it's D&D, but it's not your mom's D&D because we talk about farts and we say fuck, right? Now, our vampire game is not immune to this. We're anarchs. We tend to casually be base, depending on who we're talking to, right?
Mhm.
But having said that, the Tuchel joke was implemented before I ever joined the group,
Yes.
right?
And
Takwachi,
my and
our
my
necromancer, was talking to somebody only he could see for weeks before I came to game.
and my vampire in character just assumed he was a little crazy and did
Right.
this as a gag.
Right, that's the thing. We all assumed he was crazy, and nobody actually commented on it. It wasn't lampshaded or nudged or any kind of meta humored. We just assumed he was nuts because, let's face it, Taquanchi's kind of nuts. Until he wasn't, and then we're like, wait, that dude's real? Holy shit. Everything I believed is a lie.
So
Um,
the meat and potatoes of a less well-ran adventure group.
so here's the thing. I'm going to talk about the Legend of Machina's previous three seasons real quick to kind of contextualize what's going on. So in season one, which was only supposed to be a limited run, but they got picked up by Amazon and got expanded out. It's Dragon Hunt. They hunt down and kill a white dragon, and plush with their first victories, they are given they are landed. They're made part of the peerage of the realm. Given the official title of the Defenders of the Realm, and they get roped into politics, which lead them to freeing a remote uh, county of the kingdom that has been taken over by vampires. Right. This leads into season two, where a quorum of dragons descend on the capital and destroy it to establish their own despotic rule called the Chroma Conclave. Because, hey, we need to make our villains have big, scary names that are every bit as pretentious as our heroic group name. Um, and there's a plot. The dragons are doing a thing, right? Uh, but when you study like what this plot is, which is basically we're having all of the peasants everywhere give us all of their money with uh brutally debilitating uh taxation in the form of demanded tribute on pain of death. That if you don't think you're giving us enough, we raid you and have it taken by force. Uh, Also, the leader of this group, who is a male, can somehow give birth to a bunch of dragon eggs. It's like that's not how biology works, first and foremost, but also um, this is bad pool because even a chaotic evil monster would recognize that if you want treasure, you don't burn and deforest the entire region. You must take and consolidate so that your prisoners can continue to give you tribute forever. Right? Um but the heroes must go find themselves some god weapons because apparently you just can't kill a dragon with stick to itiveness and careful preparation. Right? We need some powerful artifacts for our superheroes. So they go on a desperate uh, world tromping quest to find all of these artifacts, which just fall into their hands natively, of course. Uh, this leads them to various twists and turns, like discovering one of the artifacts is in the hands of a anarchist who wants to give the world guns. Uh, and one of the artifacts is in hell, so we have to go to hell. But of course, this is the hell of D&D 5e, so it's not the proper hell is hell and is lawful evil, and the abyss is the abyss and is chaotic evil. It's the mixed match underworld of D&D 4 because Matt Mercer's world building is shit. You can read about it if you want to do yourself damage. It's the Adventurer's Guide to Wildermount. So you too can play in Vox Machina's critical role setting of Tal'Dorei and matter not the fuck at all. Um, but in the newest season, having defeated the dragons, everybody broke up and went back to their civilian lives. So the group is no longer together, but everybody is feeling like, what do we do now that we're not, you know, a group? Because of course, group dynamics must innately become family mechanics, and you can't, you feel out of sorts when your family is not together, even though you're not family. And this is what adventuring groups do. You pull a job and then you get on with your fucking life, especially when you're wealthy now, right? um but a group of people who lost everything, kind of like because of the snap,
Mhm.
have fallen into the worship of eldritch entities beyond the veil of time and sleep, and are trying to summon Cthulhu, and that means destroying the religious institutions and infrastructure that exist to bring about a great change with undeath. And Vox Machina is called out of retirement for one more ride. Not that anyone gives a fuck, because yet again, it's Matt Mercer's 5x5 act structure, and we're going through it by the numbers. And in lieu of having real personalities, stakes, or conflicts, we have people are falling in love with each other. We have people's emotional problems, and we say dirty words, and sometimes it's a joke. The big one that I've noticed over the course of episodes is the show is good for what I'm going to call battle tears. You can tell how desperate someone is by how much crying they do, because when they start crying, you know they're going to pull out their spirit bomb and save the day. That's how you Kamehameha wave, is you start crying, right?
Mhm.
Because you're so desperate to win that all your emotions come out. It's it's Trek. It's not good D&D. It's not good fantasy adventure. It's barely good animation. Surprising nobody.
So
Um,
I'm gonna surprise you because I got the latest Conan and Dragon Hero team up book.
Okay.
So let me resume you back into what Conan and this spin-off little book is doing. So Conan and some of the boys were in the Hyborian Age, and a dragon came and attacked the city where Conan was in. And Conan, he's not gonna let a dragon just attack his city. So he and the boys rolled out to attack the dragon, but the dragon did bullshit magic and pulled them into another dimension. Why the dragon do that? It's not important to the story yet. Uh, the dragon murks most of Conan's people. This is actually a common Elspreg de Camp story beat, from what I remember. Conan goes out with a bunch of forces. The forces get killed. Then Conan has to find some way to accomplish the mission by himself.
Yeah, if we look at Howard stuff, well, there are a couple of grand warfare scenes. By and large, Conan was never much of the Magnificent Seven kind of guy.
Mhm.
He more often went off on his own, did things on his own, and then uh, won or lost on his own. I think the few exceptions are like when he's with the White Company, although that ends in disaster, and when he is a raider with Beatlet the Tigress, except she was the captain, if one recalls, and all of those men were already signed on more or less to die. Like, it's not, oh, we were killed by misadventure. It's we all knew the risks, and dying for this cause was on the table.
Yeah. So Conan gets imprisoned once local wizards get a translator spell going
Th-
on him.
that is the more Elspark the Camp thing. Is Conan has this built-in hatred of wizards, so of course there are always wizards interfering. the The number of Conan stories where there are actual wizards fucking with Conan is like three.
Yeah. And so our secondary protagonist is like, okay, you stay here, I'll go kill the dragon. Conan's like, no, I gotta fucking kill that dragon. You don't understand. You stole a bunch of magical bullshit that had a demon inside it. I have to recover that and bring that back. And the guy's like, nah. And he goes onto his steampunk ship to go off and fly to get the dragon. And this is a Conan book. Joe, what happens next?
Some right bloody violence usually.
Conan breaks out of jail because, of course, he does. He
Yeah,
outsmarts the jail guards because jail guards are generally not that smart. They're reliable, but they're not smart.
right.
And Conan gets on to the steampunk ship. He and the secondary protagonist have a little bit of a scuffle, and the captain of the ship is like, "Hey, dumbasses, you're going to destabilize the ship, and we're already running behind trying to catch this dragon. So work your shit out. We could always use an extra hand in hunting a dragon." And Conan and the secondary hero discuss dragons in this world, and we move on to the next issue. And it's not world shattering, not like deep, innovative, and evocative Conan. It's just Conan having Conan adventures, trying to stop a dragon that stole evil crystals, and he runs into another guy in another world, and he's like, I don't trust you, and I don't want to work with you. And then he's like, well, I guess I have to work with you. It's basic by the numbers Conan, and that's why I bought the comic book, because I
I mean,
wanted basic by the numbers Conan.
I mean, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with a basic by the numbers Conan story because, frankly, you kind of want a by the numbers Conan story. We appreciate when Conan is elevated, but it doesn't have to be, as long as it's good. It's
Yeah,
just,
exactly, exactly. So I encourage everybody to keep buying Titan Comics Conan. It is, even when it goes into weird things where it's like, hey, we're gonna do a crossover event with all the other Howard characters. I'm like, do we have to?
yeah, I know, right? I mean, you can kind of get away with that with Cull and Conan as long as they don't meet, as long as there's no time whammy. But
Well, they had a little time whammy, but it's
yeah,
okay. It's okay though because it was against eldritch Lovecraftian beings.
Yeah. But I will segue this into something that I didn't throw in the chat, but I am gonna ramble about here though. I am confused by people's willful obtuseness, the active choice to not understand something that is a reasonable argument. So I'm
How would that benefit them?
right. So Sandy Peterson, formerly of Doom, formerly of
Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu, formerly of Age of Empires, made a post where he said, "This is a really good rule. I often try it out on Loki, Draco Malfoy, Hannibal Lecter, and Killmonger. You see how it was totally correct. The Danny DeVito rule is." And then he has a picture, and I'm going to read the picture for the people who may not know. Which fictional characters are idolized by people who missed their entire point of the story? And then it uses two quotes from Reddit of all things, but they're good quotes. Your man Gray from 50 Shades of Grey. Why is he seen as a wonderful, sexy man of your dreams? He's a narcissistic, misogynistic jerk. I heard someone called the Danny DeVito rule, where if changing the actor to Danny DeVito made the character a psycho, they were always a psycho.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody responded and said, quick question though. Is it the place of the author to dictate the point of the story to the reader?
Yes.
I said, the further problem is that the readers can make something of a character they aren't. Headcanon is real and pernicious. Hannibal Lecter is an inhuman cannibal, views most people as subhuman, and is largely incapable of a meaningful relationship. But that doesn't stop people. Because not only did we have Hannibal Rising, written by Harris, because he said, look, if you're going to do this stupid thing, at least let me do it right. And it was still shit, which was making Hannibal Lecter a vigilante. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then people who'd never read the books or seen the films watched the Hannibal Lecter TV series with Mads Mikkelsen. And some people were like, I'm gay for Mads Mikkelsen, and said that as I'm gay for Hannibal Lecter. And it's like, people, he's a human eating murderer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this person, Dave Chadwick, an author claiming to be the author of Monkey, Spaghetti and Meatballs, Nostalgia Inc., Last Exit to Tumbleweed, and Curse of Scruffy, and a U.S. Army vet, responded, headcanon is real and pernicious. Is it, though? And I said, people regularly forgo what's objectively, literally in front of them for preferred interpretations and disregard facts that contradict their opinions because they don't align. Right? And he said, yes, but isn't that the prerogative of the end user? And I said, if you order a Coke and they bring you a Coke and you drink the Coke and proclaim it the best Pepsi you've ever had, it doesn't matter if your mouth was the end user, it's still a Coke, no matter how much people may agree with you. Right? To which he said, this is a branding matter, not a matter of textual interpretation. So some guy, some rando, named Vox Eternus, speaking of obnoxious names, said, headcanons are what make almost all fandom the toxic cesspools they are. There are people who make something of a character that is not supported by the author's works, and they get incredibly offended if said author comes out and invalidates their headcanon. Right? To which Mr. Chadwick said, is it the place of the author to be policing the thoughts of the reader? Which I don't think is what either of us said. And then Vox goes on to say, it depends. The author's the one telling the story. If people are turning into something that you don't want it to be, then you should have the right to correct them. And then Chadwick, very recently, within the last 7 minutes, said, I feel the author doesn't have the right to correct the reader. What the fuck is the problem with trying to espouse to someone that the reader can read a sentence, understand that sentence, and then say in a frankly disingenuous way that sentence says something completely off base if it suits them to do so? How is this a complicated subject to suggest? I don't understand. right? It, it's a classic. It's an old thing, and we used to mock it appropriately, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've heard this one before. A story will say that the curtains were blue, right? And then the art critic and the writing critic and the historians will all go, "Oh, this is so meaningful and deep because the blue of the curtains reflects the emotional context of the character and his deep trauma going back to his future story beats and his backgrounds that enumerate how sad he is." And then the author's like, they're blue because I said they were fucking blue." Because all of those interpretations were appended, those were added on, those were an opinion added onto the text by the reader. They're not objectively real, they're not verifiably true, they're not objectively correct. Just because you said it, don't make it true. When the fuck did we start believing that if I say something, it must be the objective reality? Gravity exists. If I deny gravity, I can't fucking fly.
I mean, unless you're playing Toon.
I'm sorry, what is Tune?
Wait, you don't know about Toon?
Not offhand, not by name.
So Toon was a role-playing game that came out in the '80s where you played tunes.
Ah, okay.
And one of the benefits you could have of a character is if you didn't understand the law, you could ignore gravity briefly, as long as you don't look down.
Right, but that was for your character. What we're talking about is we're talking about people who go, well, my character doesn't believe in gravity, therefore gravity does not affect me, the player, therefore I can fly. No, you fucking can't. And you fucking know you can't.
Look, to your point, people pretend to not understand things because they don't want to engage in discourse, but they want all the benefits of engaging in discourse without actually engaging in it. Like this Uwe Boll movie, right?
Right.
Like I've had engaging conversations with people who disagree with me about the movie because it's saying something, and I want to talk about it. And there are even people who don't like the movie and who don't agree with me. They see other things that the movie's saying, and it's kind of neat. You see, that's what you need to do in a good faith environment: is engage in discourse and talk to people.
I mean, even though I'm going to speak ill of people that I follow, okay, because I do follow some of these people. Sure. If we're going to talk about people trying to make engagement disingenuously, let's talk about disingenuous engagement all the way down. They have the newest episode of My Adventures with Superman, the show that we already know is trash, which is somehow already up to its third season, and they have an episode with Bizarro, who doesn't look very Bizarro.
Well, I
Apparently,
mean,
Apparently,
he.
being Bizarro means wearing a man bun and looking very confused.
I mean, that does check out though.
Right, but like Bizarro from the DCAU under Bruce Timm looked like Bizarro. He was Superman as Frankenstein,
Mhm.
right? This is a cute Superman who's just like Bizarro am at Comic-Con. What do? But that's not what people are talking about. What people are talking about is they have a scene with some superhero cosplayers where we have a kid who's done up like Beast Boy, legit. A
Mhm.
girl who's a Black Starfire, because of course DC is still trying to push Black Starfire after Black Starfire failed, because the Titans show failed. And then people are talking about this depiction of Raven, and it's disingenuous discourse all the way down from both sides.
Well, I
So
mean, first of all, they make her a Muslim when Raven has a dad who's a demon and Raven's a half
no,
demon. No,
no,
no, they
let's
do.
no,
No, no,
no,
that's
no,
that's
no,
absolutely
no,
the
no,
stylization of the costume.
no. You're missing a step. You're correct, but you're missing a step. A cosplayer who is likely a Muslim
Right.
wears a costume of Raven that is Muslimified.
Mhm.
So the first step in the disingenuous narrative is the artist who drew the episode decided to draw Raven like this.
Also, me
But it's not
personally,
Raven, it's a cosplayer.
I think it's going to be the Teen Titans.
I mean,
I think if the show gets another season, they're going to roll these characters out of the Teen Titans. I think that was
oh,
a soft bubble.
I mean, absolutely. And if they stick with Raven as a Muslim, it'll be a complete shit show. But that brings us to the next step of the disingenuous discussion, which is people are going and freaking out, and they're not saying, "Come on, guys, that's fucking lame," and you know it because because it's an attempt to pander and cause drama. What we should actually be pissed about, because they knew what they were doing and they knew how people would respond to it, right? Instead, they're going, oh, "You made Raven a Muslim. How dare you?" And it's like that's not even the actual Raven, right? And then people are like, "No, Raven is gray skinned and looks like this." And then they show the animated Raven from the animated Teen Titans show. Except, oh wait, one that is the DCAU version of Raven, who is admittedly from another dimension and half demon. But go look at her up in comics, guys. She's not gray skinned, and
She's not.
she's also not specifically from any specific region. Because guess what? She's from another dimension and she's half demon,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then you have people turning around and claiming that people are upset because how dare Raven be presented as a South Seas Asian woman? How the fuck? I've known guys from the South Seas. I know there are a lot of Muslims in South Seas Asia, but how the fuck did you get there?
I
Nobody
got I
ever
got nothing.
inferred that Raven was from the South Seas of Asia. Because remember, these are the same people that when they were trying to figure out how to pick a actor for a guy who is green from Africa, a canonically white kid, they picked an Asian actor. and then did his green makeup really badly.
They did. They did.
But
So
my point is nobody in the discourse is being honest because nobody actually wants to attend the problem. Everybody just wants to be pissed off and then to claim that they were in the right.
yeah, no, that all tracks with the way the world is right now.
When I think the real answer is we should look at this and go, holy shit, they did another season of this garbage. Why are people watching this? But
Well, there aren't that many people who are watching it, and
they
it's
keep
more.
making it. At this point, it's got to be a tax dodge.
It's actually more complicated than that, right?
Okay,
So you have to have X number of viewing hours, right?
right.
So you basically have to produce a certain amount of content that maximizes your number of hours of viewing. So they figure this can maximize enough eyeballs in certain sectors that it makes up the total basket of sectors that the streaming service will have.
Okay.
That is the horrible truth of what's going on. So, is there anything else that has
Oh
come
Jesus.
across? What?
That on that Heather Antos thing.
Hmm?
Apparently, Rich Johnson has jumped in the pit.
Yeah, no, he's the one who commented like, "Hey, Heather, you're responsible for selling his books. Are you really sure you want to be saying that?"
Wow.
I mean, it's fucking Rich Johnson who pulled the trigger on that one, and Rich is kind of a squishy media figure.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all. I mean, Heather Antos has been in the crossfire of multiple bad ideas for a while. I think she's just about played out her political currency. So we're watching the end of an era.
So, is there anything else you have that's come across your desk?
I mean, well, you wanted to talk about Obsession, apparently, but
No, not really. I mean, I
really?
watched it, and I know a lot of people are talking about it. I'm like, eh. I'm not really on that now.
I mean, there. I didn't know about this, and that's why I shared it. And I was like, Church, you got to check this out. The creator of Ultima is getting is trying to get Ultima back from EA.
Nice.
And Rey Mysterio apparently has an animated series coming out called Rey Mysterio versus the Darkness, and it's got a trailer.
Nice. Give me a second. Let me pull that one up. We can play that once I find it. Here we go. And I got one other thing after we play this to take us home on, because whenever we mention Rob Liefeld, we do need to play certain things as is tradition.
As is tradition. So say we all.
So say we all. Absolutely. A second.
You know, when that show was running, I really didn't care for it, and I still have not felt any desire to go back and try to rewatch it.
Oh no, it's a shitty show. So we're gonna go here and hit play. Should probably hit.
You want to make it big?
1 second. Let me embiggen it. No, that's not embiggening.
No. Embiggen's the next one over. The two arrows pointing away. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now
Check it out. Rey Mysterio's winding up as the shaman finishes its spell. Kanan, Noho, Mata. And then what happens?
Adam? I'm never getting extra protein kibble again!
But then Rey shows up.
You lost, little puppy?
Rey Mysterio.
guys, you could have paid for frame.
What was that spell again? Kanan, Noho, Mata.
What are they feeding you?
You know, I like that. I dig that. Also, Rey is now become an official part of AAA wrestling in Mexico in a management position.
I just wish they had paid out for more frames, but that's a lot of animation recently. They did away with traditional animation mechanisms. They transitioned all over to I want to say Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have been trying to find ways to reduce the number of frames needed for flowing animation, or at least for minimal animation, as a cost-cutting venture, to the point that we are almost living in an age of animatics, because nobody wants to do fucking frames, even though we have a level of technology where we can literally go, look, man, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. But since we mentioned Rob Liefeld, we're gonna go out on an oldie but a goodie.
We'll try to explain our thinking on how we're coming across and why we're doing overkill the way
You
it
can
is.
think and draw at the same time?
Yeah, and especially if it's going to be overkill, his equipment's got to be overkill as well.
Oh, heck yeah.
Always
Okay,
remember, he's tough, but he's not violent.
Okay, along those lines, he's got the biggest shoulder pads ever existed. It's like
I figured he would.
Okay, I'm gonna give him some big knee pads here, because a guy like him that's got some armor and got some guns and
Has to
stuff
have
like that
knee pads.
is gonna.
Boy, he looks grim, doesn't he?
Kids, you know, I mean, the kids like the dark, moody stuff. I mean,
they seem
you know,
to.
I mean,
But I have a question I've been wanting to ask you guys. How long does it take these people to get dressed? These kind of characters.
Who says
that
they
you draw?
undress?
I mean, there's something they have to get out quickly to save the world, but it takes them an hour and a half to get into all of this stuff
That's
if they
right.
work fast.
That's right. Getting into the costume is like going to the bathroom in comic book. You never show it, but you assume that Superman and Batman and Spider-Man actually do go and urinate every now and then,
You're
right?
right, but you never do show it, do you?
No.
You know,
You show
I-
very often you show people getting dressed, especially women. I seem to recall that now. and
Yeah,
then.
no.
You draw hands? Are you into hands?
Oh
really?
yeah, I'm the best.
You do hands?
I'm the best. Why don't we give them here? Wires coming out here, coming down. Up.
They love that
The kids
stuff.
love wiring.
The wires
yeah,
that he'll
they do.
trip
Why
over
don't
when
we-
he's
why-
running.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you
So-
draw good wires.
Oh,
Does he have a double identity? Is he really a
No.
meek accountant in real life?
who else could he be besides Overkill?
Well, I mean, when he takes off all these clothes, is he a
I
97
do
pound
you see
weakling?
him taking rough fist? Okay.
Okay.
With his thumb, he would have 3 different cannons that are
okay.
facing you for the large kapui. So right here, they could be like missile launchers or whatever, but he's gonna have those right over here.
What
I mean,
makes
this
you
guy's
make
alive,
those
too.
value judgments? Why only 3? He's got 4 knuckles.
'Cause
the reader's
and then
crazy.
this-
Why does he have more on that side than that side?
No,
For the sake of our unseen viewers,
Mhm.
is this really the type of thought process that you guys go through when you
Yes.
create characters?
Except minutes.
This is probably longer than you usually
Yeah.
take. Well, I think I've got to say seriously, which isn't easy for me to do, but I think it's very impressive that in a matter of 20 minutes, you guys could come up with something like this. I mean, bad as it is, it's still impressive that you were able to do it this quickly.
Well,
yeah, that's a cool logo. That
Rob,
is really
didn't you
cool.
promise that you would draw and we would do the talking? And
I'm
when
sorry,
you
I'm
grow
sorry.
up a little more,
Okay,
we'll let you in there
all
with the
right,
grown-ups.
Well, when you were creating characters, Stan,
Mhm.
what was the process back then? I mean, because Rob and I right now, we do our own writing and our own drawing. We don't collaborate with anybody anymore. So
That's the problem, and I've been meaning to talk to you guys about that. Boy, he is one grim-looking guy. There's no way this man can move. He's got to have a power to defy gravity, I would say, just looking at
He's
him.
a tank. I mean, what do you think of him?
Now, the funniest thing would be if you say that these are jets and he's the fastest man alive. That and the way you have him, we've got to justify all of this paraphernalia somehow.
Okay.
I don't know that you're really doing my character right. That's all right, I guess, for a
Full
bunch of
Stan.
beginners.
overkill
I
him.
just want you to, we have a minute and
Oh,
a half or so.
what?
I want to.
Okay.
All right, guys?
Okay, give him an ankle bone here, an ankle bone here.
I think it takes longer to sign the name.
Heck
than draw a
yeah.
picture,
You
you
know,
know?
It
but
is. I'm gonna step out, okay?
you know, it's weird. On one level, I had always watched that, and I was like, Stan is raking them over the coals. But on another level, it's like, at the same time, it's like, I don't know if he necessarily was. I think they sounded a lot like we sound, like if we were all making a character.
And also,
They
in
sounded like they
fairness-
were having fun.
and also in fairness, Stan was being editorial there. He's like, really? How's this guy gonna go to the bathroom?
Well, because then there's obviously deeper stuff, like you said, like Todd said, because Todd was being surprisingly open for once. They do the writing and the art, and they don't collaborate. And Stan was like, that might be part of the problem. It's like, because obviously asking how do they go to the bathroom is a joke. We know it doesn't matter, right?
But I mean,
But
the
he's-
costume should at least look like he could.
Right, he's not wrong, because that's always the thing that I have grumbled about, and now comics have gone so hard in the other direction. I also grumble, which is instead of having a suit, a uniform, a identity that is clear, right? It's just, what if we put superheroes in like regular clothes? And it's like, why? It's like, because it's easier to draw them in fashion. It's like, yeah, but if they're just dudes on the street, then how do we know who they are? Because you need the battle togs. You need the special outfit when shit gets real. It's a thing.
It's how you protect your people, your secret identity.
Right. You got to put on the flag so that you can pull out the real power.
Exactly.
Like Captain America, his human identity. I'm forgetting his name, and I feel terrible because Captain America.
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers can absolutely kick a bunch of ass. Steve Rogers could do a fight on the street regular, and you go, yeah, but he's got the serum. It's like, yeah, but he could do that fight as Steve Rogers, 98-pound weakling too, right? But he's not really Captain America until he puts on the star and whips out the shield. Then he's Captain America. Before that, he's just Steve Rogers, dude on the street. Right? Conversely, Tony Stark is Tony Stark is Tony Stark is Tony Stark. And if you were to ask me, Joe, do you like Tony Stark? No, Tony's a fucker. And if you said, but Joe, do you like Iron Man? I'm like, Iron Man's a hero. He's just not my favorite hero. But I
No,
like
yeah.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man fights the good fight for the people. Because Iron Man's going to fight the Mandarin. Because Tony Stark doesn't fight the Mandarin. Tony Stark would pay off the Mandarin.
I mean, yeah, that more or less tracks.
Now, it gets a little complicated. He starts saying, it's like, well, Joe, what about Frank Castle? It's like, Frank Castle's always the Punisher. That's part of the problem. He's never not punishing people. And we should be deeply concerned about that. And you say, well, what about Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne's always Batman. It's like, yeah, but that's because Bruce Wayne is the disguise. So Bruce Wayne's not going to do a Batmaning because if he did, people would know he's Batman. Right?
Mm-hmm. So we're a little over, and I think it was good. And we have to thank Uwe Boll. So good night, everybody.
That is so weird to say. We have to thank Uwe Boll.
So good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Doot.